50 pounds. So here's our visual. One standard deviation above and below the mean captures a grand total of 68%. A normal distribution is also known as a symmetric distribution. What does that mean to you? How many times a day do you look in the mirror? At least once in the morning when you get up to make sure your makeup's on right or your hair's combed or something like that. So you're familiar with a symmetric distribution because it's called a mirror image. So how much distance is over here? And how much distance is over here? The same. So what portion of this 68% is below the mean but not past one standard deviation? Real simple. 34%. And does that mean I also have 34% sitting up here above the mean? That's the beauty of the symmetric relationship. And if this is where 1750 lies for that particular problem, and if you recognize that the mean, the median, and the mode all are expected to be at the same place in a perfectly normal distribution, then you know the median tells you that you have 50% of the data over there, and you have 50% of the data over there. So if that's the case, haven't you already accounted for 34% of that left-hand section? What have you not accounted for?
95 and 99.
If there's 50% from the center all the way back to the end, and you've already accounted for 34% of it, what's missing? 16%. It's a simple 50% minus that 34% to give you 16% of the data. What if they would have said greater than 1,750 pounds?
68 plus.
Now we've got 34 plus this upper, which would be the other part of the coin. Now we have 50 plus 34, which would be 80%. They could just as easily come back and ask you what percentage is below the second standard deviation marking, because you always have a part-to-whole relationship in the problem. So when we went to the 95% distribution, this is why we took the time to break up these into individual sections. There's a difference here of 27%, right? That 27% is broken up how? Because it's symmetric into two pieces, giving you 13.5%. And if that gave you 13.5%, then when you move from one standard deviation above below to two standard deviations above and below, you picked up another 13.5% in each one of those small little sections. So now if they were to ask you what percentage is below this particular point, you've accounted for 47.5%, which leaves you 2.5% left out there. Or you have accounted for 50% plus another 47, you'd accounted for 97%. They are not always going to give you the middle sections. They might throw a question at you that asks about what's outside of that distribution as well. They did it on one homework exercise, and it was the automobile cost problem where they drew the graphic for you. And I can tell you that when you look at